Government workers are committed to doing good for our citizens and communities. Yet the system is plagued with challenges. Fraud and waste are at an all-time high, representing nearly 10% of government program spending. I know firsthand how devastating the cost of fraud can be because I've seen its effects. I'm Carl Hammersberg, and for 26 years, I've worked for and with government to fight fraud, to keep programs financially healthy and improve people's lives. As we know all too well, no one is immune to fraud. 15.4 million cases of identity theft alone occurred in 2016. Programs meant to protect people suffer. I've seen the victims, and you know them too. Senior citizens, single parents, veterans, and special needs children. Innocent, honest people pay the price, and tech-savvy fraudsters are only getting more sophisticated at what they do best. New schemes and new threats require new thinking. It's time to reimagine government without fraud, waste, and abuse. Today, with analytics, it's possible. Recent changes to legal restrictions have enabled better data sharing between agencies, and many states are now acting to make data and analytics a priority. Data sharing at the state and federal level helped crack a $900 million Medicaid and Medicare fraud network. That one case alone brought over 300 arrests. Governments across Europe lose 100 billion euros annually to VAT carousel fraud. By using advanced analytics to proactively stop fraud before it happens, Belgium saves nearly 1 billion euros each year. Using analytics, the IRS stopped nearly 2 million fraudulent refund requests, totaling nearly $15 billion in a single year. In Washington State, my work with data sharing and analysis helped us raise workers' comp tax audits with positive outcomes from 50% to nearly 85%. In all of these examples, we see analytics in action, and it's truly encouraging. So whether you're trying to close the $3.1 trillion tax gap, know if unemployment claims are legitimate, or move beyond pay and chase for Medicaid, the ability to gain deeper data insights and make smarter decisions is critical. With analytics, we have the power to do more for our citizens, and we must.
Hello and welcome everyone to the second edition of Revenue Management and Intelligence Summit, which has been conceptualized by Elets Technomedia Pvt Ltd with a great support from SAS India. As you know, that we are going to organize 4 edition of Revenue Management and Intelligence Summit. We have already organized a successful North edition of the summit, and today we have assembled on this great platform to listen to eminent experts from different states in the second edition for West India. In this exclusive interaction, we are glad that Dr. Sangeeta Rajesh Hasnare has joined us. I would like to take a minute to introduce Dr. Sangeeta Rajesh Hasnare. She has done MBBS from Sion Hospital and she is MD gynecologist from Nair Hospital. She has also done hospital management from TISS. She is a state civil officer of 2010 batch. Dr. Hasnare is the first woman assistant commissioner who was given the responsibility to handle and supervise various wards within the limits of Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, and she has played a crucial role in development and policy formation for MCGM. Many of you must be aware that her work during the first wave of COVID-19, which includes management of COVID-19 in wards and distribution of food and supplies, has been recognized by UNICEF. Under her supervision only, MCGM collected highest property tax of rupees 5,127 crore in 3 months, which is the highest in the history of MCGM. So a very warm welcome to you, Dr. Sangeeta Hasnare, in the Revenue Management and Intelligence Summit West. We are Also, glad to tell our viewers, as I mentioned, that this program has been greatly supported by SAS India, and we have Mr. B. Radhakrishna. He is Director, Fraud and Security Intelligence at SAS India. With this brief introduction, I would like to hand over this virtual dais to Dr. Mr. Radha Krishna, and would like to request him to start this program with the opening remark and then have an exclusive conversation with Dr. Sangeeta Hasnare. And I will again, after the conversation, will join this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks,
Over to you,
thanks,
Radha Krishna.
thanks, Harshad. Thanks a lot, Dr. Hasnale Madam, for accepting to be part of today's conversation. Though we have met quite a few times, it was in a different context, and we have seen you live working in the COVID times in terms of supporting food and necessary distributions last year. Before I just put up some questions to know more about what you have done in MCGM, specifically in the context of technology implementations. We just want to briefly introduce the audience about Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai, as we call it as MCGM, is the largest municipal corporation in India, and of course the richest municipal corporation of India, with balance sheet size greater than 1 lakh crores. The annual budget size itself is 24,000 crores, and the structure which is supported by is broadly into deliberate wing as well as the administrative wing. And the amount of work that happens in MCGM during the regular course, as well as in exceptional situations like what we are seeing, and what you also see every year during rainy season. First of all, thanks, Dr. Hansale Madam. So I have some questions, some queries, clarifications, because it's been a year since you started this implementation on technology for property intelligence. And MCGM is the largest municipal corporation in India and has been a pioneer in technology adoption. You have recently implemented an analytic solution for property intelligence. Madam, can you just share a couple of more points as how it benefited the department?
I can just say that, when I joined this assessment and collection department, I thought it is not my cup of tea, and how I'm going to manage. It was in 2019, September I had joined. And you can say that, from February 2020 only the corona had started. And so it was like 2 years I had got for a collection of a property tax. That was in 1920 and 2021. But 1920, I had only 4 months in my hand to understand the system and then go behind the people and all. And that time only we introduced the SaaS system. And then I realized that I am not aware of a single person in the department, as I am an administrator. So I felt that, that time only my additional municipal commissioner had changed, and they questioned me, do you need this SaaS system? And then I said, yes, I do it more than anyone else, because I do not know the grassroots staff. I do not know how they are working. So my tool to control them will be the purely SaaS system. And any administrator, I will say the SaaS tool is mainly for the senior administration or the administration who actually they want to control their grassroots staff and who want to control the flow of the work. So they can get many analysis from the data which the SaaS have, and they do the analytics. The only main thing is that you must be able to tell the SaaS people or the data analytic person that what exactly outcome you want. And I think it was an excellent job done by the team. And they gave me the entire feedback which I needed very badly, and that was exactly the reason we could achieve the maximum target in spite of our bills were raised only in month of December. So we had only 3 months to collect the revenue, and we could collect in 3 months the maximum collection that too during COVID. It is not a magic. It is like, integrated effort, and it is a analytics of the SaaS, which I can always say that helped me a lot.
Okay, madam. It was nice to hear the kind of benefit what could accrue in terms of collection. So, madam, I think all of us know one of the significant issues any municipal corporation faces in property tax is dealing with arrears or non-payments. So, how has the analytics solution implemented by you help you in improving the long pending arrear collection?
Yeah, it is very interesting to tell you all. Mumbai Mahanagar Palika is the only, MCGM is the only corporation who has implemented, capital value based system.
Right.
And because it is a capital based value system from 2010, there are multiple litigations we are having. And all these, litigations are pending now in Supreme Court. And then there was a fear, like, because the cases are in Supreme Court, we cannot take a coercive action against the people, or we cannot impose penalty which is, legally applicable. Okay, so SaaS came into picture here. So I had asked only for a basic data from them. He give me the list of the property who default in a outstanding more than the formula given by the Supreme Court or High Court. And that formula showed that I'm having out of 4,50,000 people, around 3,75,000 people did not pay the taxes as per the court order. So I could put this to the higher administration and also to the councillor and take their opinion, where they had said, they had given me the opinion that if the people have not paid as per the court order, you are entitled to take the action. And so the plan of action was decided, the penalty was decided, and we could implement the thing. And this was possible because such a huge data collection, like during COVID, and understanding how many are paid as per the court order, how many are not paid as per the court order, is not humanly possible. And was not possible for our IT, this thing, what is the software which is we use for tax collection. So it was this analysis I could get only from a SaaS, and then I could, divide these people who are defaulting more than 10 years. That is RV system also tax they have not paid. Then there we have to take action. Those who are defaulting, more than 1 crore or 10 crore or 100 crore. So we could categorize the people. We could categorize them into commercial, land under construction, residential. So we could decide our plan of action. Like we could understand, if there is one single commercial entity, whether they are having multiple properties all across the Mumbai, and if they are all are defaulting. So this data also I could collect. So I could collect multiple kind of data where I could divide my strategy, plan of action, and how to approach. So this methodology could be developed because of this analysis which I got it within short time, and for entire Mumbai in a uniform manner. And then I could take a required sanction and I could take the strategically plan the action.
Great to hear that, madam. Indeed, I think if you are able to realize quite a bit of outstanding or arrears, it would have definitely given you a lot of return on investment. I think one of the most important success criteria of implementing such analytic solution, madam, is trying to find out how ward officers are able to use the outputs from the property tax, the intelligence solution. Can you just share some experiences in terms of how is it helping the ward officers through the outputs of this solution?
Yeah, because then what happened, for an individual level, again, just, you to understand the ward officer, you must understand the ward, how ward formation is, and how the working of the assessment department, how MCGM is. See, MCGM is divided into 3 zones, like city, eastern suburb, western suburb. They are subdivided into various division, like, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and every zone have 4 to 5 ward in there. Then every ward is divided into units. So the unit may vary from 10 units to around 30 units also, depending upon the ward size. And one inspector heads that unit. So this unit have, around 450 to around 2,000 properties. And every ward have a assessor and collector, that is assistant assessor and collector, who heads the department at that ward level. They have a superintendent under them, deputy superintendent, and the inspector, who's the lowest unit, who is responsible for collection of the taxes, going to the people, serving them notices and all. So every person data available and checking that through system or through manually is not a human task. So there was a so obviously there are people like who will take disadvantage of it. Citizen will take disadvantage of it. Then there were multiple court cases, so people were afraid to impose the penalty and all that, take harsh action. So because of the such system, every officer could understand, like one unit also could understand how many type of properties they are having, which was there now in their fingertip. Like they are having this type of property, residential this much, commercial this much, LUC this much, then mixed property are this much. And then in that also they could understand who's the highest defaulter. Okay. And then they could also understand, who is the defaulter for a long duration. So they could themselves make their own target. Every inspector could make their own target. Every deputy superintendent could supervise the target of their own inspector and the assistant assessor collector also. So it became very easy, it became a channel and then all these channels finally will come to me like assessor collector. So the assessor, we are having around 660 small units. Our entire properties are divided into 660 small units. So the 660, managing the 660 into multiple properties, into multiple defaulter was very, very easy, and then we could find out the people who have just not paid last year. So my staff could go to those people and tell them, you have not paid only for this year, so you pay, so you will not have to pay the penalty. So people realize that if they pay in time, they will not get any penalty. So people started paying this thing. It is not only coercive action, but we understood those who will not have there is no penalty levied on these people. Okay. So it was the other way also, like we could train the people and tell them there is no penalty on you, so you pay first. So people started paying those who are not having penalty, or the one who's defaulting for a long duration. And then they started coming and fighting with us. So with the help of SAS, we could give them an entire data. Since when you are defaulting, how much you are defaulting, how much is your penalty. So they agreed that, the system will not tell false thing. They will not give false report. The system speak only truth. And then the thing became very transparent.
Sure.
Like my senior most and the junior most officer, everybody had a same kind of report. So even if the person who feel कि अरे MCGM में तो सब झूठ बोलते हैं, या people generally have that tendency कि government में ना वो junior officer ऐसा ही बोलता है कुछ भी, तो senior most will tell the truth. But when they used to come to us and then they used to find my junior most officer and the senior most officer also speak the truth, that made a lot of difference. Means our work become easy.
Okay. I think it is nice to hear that it enabled the ward officers, one, to get consistent information, second, information which helped them to interact with citizens, and it also helped the citizens to believe and rely on ward officers so that the trust got established. And I think it is also very interesting to hear that you advise citizens to pay the tax on time, and you also suggested them that there is no penalty on the payment what they have to make. I think which is very best thing to happen for the citizens itself. So it's nice, madam, nice to hear that. I think since you had already this journey of going with phase 1, I think the phase 1 has now gone live, where the property tax data is now integrated with SAS in the solution. Now, you also started with the phase 2, where you are planning to integrate data from water, license, building proposal, health, etc. To what extent do you think this will add value in achieving your property tax objectives? One, of course, is increasing the property tax itself. And second, of course, is serving the citizens better. So how do you think this phase 2 with these additional sources will help you to achieve your objectives?
See, one thing you have to understand, and it is a human tendency. Like if given a chance, everyone will just want to not pay any taxes. Everyone feel that we are overtaxed or overburdened. So many times it happens like, someone starts some small business but don't inform to the corporation or to the local body, which they have to officially inform, take all the permissions and take all the licenses for that. But they don't do that. But at the same time, many times what they do, they take a commercial water meter or commercial electric meter, because they feel, if they don't take that, then in future they may not, may have some problem. So that certain kind of mentality generally we have seen in people, citizens. So in this case, what happens if they take water meter? It is a commercial. However, we are charging tax as per residential. So it will happen like we will also start charging the commercial rate. Okay. Then what it will be the inter-department integration. Like, and once we charge the commercial property, then the if we have started health license, health activity, or some business which is license related, they have to have a license. So all this data can be shared with this department, where this department can go suo moto and insist people to take the license, or if it is illegal, unauthorized, then they can have an action over them, so that we can stop hazardous thing happening around us.
Okay.
So this analysis is not only analysis or integration. It will surely have a very positive impact in a various way. Like in building proposal also, if we interact, then we know exactly how many buildings are coming up with a proper authority or proper sanction, and which are not coming up with the proper authority or sanction. So this can be integrated with this thing. So obviously it will help to make my city a beautiful city also, and what do you say, law-abiding city.
Sure.
So this SaaS will help me not only to increase the revenue. The increased revenue is a one part, but integration will make the city law-abiding city.
Sure. I think one last question, madam. I think most of the information what you shared, is very, very useful in terms of, the technology adoption and how analytics is helping you to pursue the objectives of the property tax department. One last question, madam. I think one of the important aspects of, dealing with citizens is understanding the citizens, where you would like to have a 360-degree view of the your taxpayer rather. From that perspective, how do you think the network analysis and clustering will help the department and the property tax department?
So the SaaS system is also having 360-degree this thing, correct?
Yeah.
So that we have yet not implemented. So if we take that as a part, so obviously it will help us to understand the dimensions, like which we want to know, like whenever we do the taxation or we assess the property, so various factors we take into consideration, like what is the type of construction, then whether it is how many floor rate building it is, okay, then what purpose it is used, for a commercial, industrial, or a residential. So all these add factors, and then the taxation depends. So if there is under taxation or over taxation, both can be taken care of by this methodology and with the help of SaaS. So over taxation is also not good. We should not feel happy that I'm getting taxed, but obviously our citizen is suffering. So there should not be over taxation, or there should not be under taxation. It has to be a correct taxation. And I think the SaaS system will help me in correct taxation. It will, remove this over and under taxation, and obviously it will be beneficial not only to the administration, but to the citizens also.
Yes.
Because they will get a correct taxation.
Sure. I think it's the point what you rightly mentioned, madam. One is avoiding the better understanding of the taxpayer will help you to avoid unnecessary or over taxation burden to the citizen. That is very, very important, because that also increases the trust what citizen can have on the department. And which is very, very, very important. It was wonderful talking to you, madam. Harshal, can you please take over?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. B. Radhakrishna, Director Fraud and Security Intelligence at SAS India. And thank you so much, Dr. Sangeeta Hasnare, Assistant Municipal Commissioner and Assessor and Collector at MCGM. MCGM is one of the biggest municipal corporation in the country, and there are several things which other municipal corporations can learn from the management mechanism which are being practiced or implemented at the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. So with this, I would like to thank Dr. Sangeeta ma'am again for sharing your input uh, in this platform. And I would also like to thank Mr. B. Radhakrishna, not just for the moderating this session, this exclusive talk with Dr. Sangeeta Asnare, but also for supporting our concept of revenue management and intelligence summit. So with this, thank you everyone. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
you.
And ma'am, we would like to present this token of gratitude to you. This is a virtual certificate which we would like to present to Dr. Sangeeta Hasnare.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now after this exclusive conversation with Dr. Sangeeta Hasnare, we are now moving to our panel discussion. We are glad to inform everyone that today in the West edition, we have been able to get good support from eminent speakers from various states. And we are going to have a very interesting conversation among the panelists today. This particular session will be moderated by Mr. Karthik Sharma. He is the ego vertical head at Elets Technomedia Pvt Ltd. So I would like to hand over this virtual dais to Mr. Karthik Sharma and request him to navigate the panel discussion further. Thank you.
A very good evening, all of you. A very warm welcome by Elets Technomedia and SAS Software. Today, I welcome you all at the Revenue Management and Intelligence Summit, the West of India edition, organized by Elets Technomedia in association with SAS India. The theme of the session is optimizing revenue through application and advanced analytics, the modern IT. And today we have leaders who will be discussing maybe the success stories or maybe the ideas to how to optimize revenue and how technology can be used into that. Lately, we had a successful North India edition where it was the first of the series where a number of eminent speakers from the northern region of the country participated to share their opinion on the challenges and scopes pertaining to revenue management in various departments and in their states. So in the West edition today, we'll be discussing several innovations happening in different departments, including finance department, revenue and stamp duty, income tax, excise, transport, mines and geology, and municipal corporation, and also deliberate upon the potential use of modern technologies like AI and cognitive computing in revenue and intelligence management. Besides, we will also try to explore the adoption of newest technologies like analytics and artificial intelligence by these departments for maximizing revenue and reducing costs, bringing superlative citizen and customer experience and plugging the revenue leakage. So today the government leaders are here talking about how they are managing their revenue, how they are optimizing the revenue of the state. And we have the people who have done brilliant work on the ground. And the person to start with, I'll introduce each of, before asking questions, I'll introduce each speaker. And first, I would like to introduce Dr. Prithvi Raj, who is Secretary of Finance Department, Secretary for Budget in Finance Department, Government of Rajasthan. Welcome, Dr. Prithvi.
Thank you, Karthik.
So Dr. Prithvi is also a technocrat. He has also done great work in urban infrastructure, public health, and also in IT and finance. He's from several years now, he is handling the finances of Rajasthan government. And we are very sure that he has a lot to say, several ideas to share with us today, how a state can maximize and optimize its revenue. So Dr. Prithvi Raj is here. I also welcome Mr. Dhyaneshwar B. Patil, Secretary for Revenue Department in Government of Madhya Pradesh. Dhyaneshwar ji, welcome. Swagat hai aapka. I also welcome Mr. Rajan Sataradekar, Director of Transport in Government of Goa. Rajanji, welcome. I welcome Mr. Arvind Mishra, who is Additional Commissioner for GST in Government of Rajasthan. And I also welcome Mr. Shelabh Sahu, Assistant Transport Commissioner in Government of Chhattisgarh. They are joining us shortly. And I also welcome the industry expert, Mr. B. Radhakrishna, CFCS Director for Fraud and Security Intelligence in SAS. Welcome, Radhaji.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining.
So before we start this discussion, I request Shri B. Radhakrishna, Director for Fraud and Security Intelligence in SAS, to please do some context setting and welcome all these eminent panelists who have spared their time and joined us for this discussion. Radha, to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Firstly, my sincere thanks to each one of the speakers as part of this event today on revenue intelligence and management. We have representation from different revenue generating departments of the state government. And I'm sure we'll have valuable exchange of ideas on the current trends in revenue management and efforts the departments are taking to increase the revenue. The nature and magnitude of the challenges to increase the compliance and revenue may vary in various departments like GST, excise, transport, property tax in municipal corporations, large mining departments, and of course other departments. And the reasons could be, vary. And the reasons, some of the reasons could be, the level of automation or digitization in the department, depending on the data, quality of data, level of staffing, capabilities to exploit the data to generate insights using AI and ML. The ensuing pandemic has an adverse impact on the revenue generation and requires to deploy technologies and processes to generate efficiencies and effectiveness in the operations. Okay, let me share some of the views regarding revenue management and intelligence based on our experience engaging with multiple state and central governments in India. If you look at what we have experienced in 2020 and the experience what we are having at this point of time owing to the pandemic, governments are heavily investing in providing life-saving healthcare, starting from 2020 owing to this pandemic. They're deploying resources where it mattered most in terms of providing the medical infrastructure, cash assistance, benefits to the citizens, and of course, what you're seeing at this point of time, vaccination support. What we have also experienced from the government's perspective is a lot of volatility in the revenue owing to the lockdown and impacts on the business. So how does it look like if we look into last fiscal year, which is 2021? While it started on a very low note owing to the lockdown, Janata curfew in April, but what we see over a period of time, there has been a recovery. And there are some interesting points relating to this recovery. For the first time, we have seen the GST collections have crossed 1 lakh crore consecutively for 6 months, which indicates that there are some economic recovery given the condition what we have seen in the beginning of the fiscal year. Some of the reasons that are attributed by the GST Council is one, monitoring against a fake billing, usage of deep dive analytics from data from multiple sources, including GST, income tax, and customs. And of course, very, very effective tax administration. What do analysts, how are analysts looking the situation as? As what you see, there is a heavy spending by the governments to shield individuals, citizens from the economic consequences of the pandemic and lockdown. The kind of assistance that is being provided is involving heavy spending by the governments. What needs to be done to support this spending, of course, is the revenue which also got impacted substantially because of lockdown. And government essentially is under tremendous pressure with respect to the financial management. Now, based on our experience of working in multiple departments in India across state and central government, specifically the revenue generating departments, here is understanding of some of the challenges what we see. In the domain of tax and excise, what we see is some disaggregated revenue systems, commodity misclassification, greater understanding of taxpayer is required, and of course, not much analytics is being used at this point. With respect to stamps and registration, there's issue around undervaluation of properties, misclassification of properties, issues around market price calibration, and a lot of issues around registration documents. In one of the largest implementations in India relating to property tax, what we've realized is there are issues around erroneous assessment, misclassification of, again, the properties, issues around unassessed property. And in the context of mining, what we are seeing is there is increasing number of volume of transactions which need to be analyzed. There are increasing number of entities. Again, there are issues around grade and royalty assessments, which is impacting the revenue for mining department. And a lot of issues around transport, again, with respect to ensuring better road safety, preventing revenue leakage, and compliance, monitoring, and reporting. Is there a recipe for this? Is there a framework which can essentially deal with these issues? Yes, indeed. So as what we will see with various departments, there's a lot of data that is getting generated. Case in point is GST or excise, where we look into returns, we look into sales and purchase data, a lot of data that is being collected around dealer registration, watch lists, and of course, other government data. In this case, it could be CBDT, CBIC, and so on. Now, if you move to stamps and registration, we look into the land records, a lot of digitized data, watch lists, and a lot of aggregators, data relating to aggregators. If you look into property tax, we see data around property, demand, licenses which are issued by shops and establishments, licenses relating to water connections, health and building proposals, and so on. One of the important aspects is being able to consolidate this data. And this is where 50 to 60% of the data effort is involved in terms of ingestion, cleansing, enrichment, resolving the entities, connecting these entities to create something what we call it as a repository. And this data in the repository with respect to entities, transactions, behaviors is used to apply multiple techniques, which I will discuss in detail, to generate exceptions, to better understand the entities, whether it is taxpayer, property, a mine, a licensee, and so on. And these exceptions are investigated. And the outcome of these investigations, that it is either a true positive or a false positive. And that information will flow back into the repository to add intelligence on a continuous learning basis. It also flows to the source system so that the source systems are also updated with some level of intelligence. Now, there are two important questions that we essentially try to answer, unlike the traditional approaches. The first question is, at what levels do we monitor? Second question is, what are the different methods, or what we call is how do we monitor it? Let's come to the first question. What are the levels of monitoring? Traditionally, most of the monitoring used to get restricted to an event. Event could be in the context of a tax, it could be a return, it could be a sale or a purchase, invoice, e-bill, or registration. In the context of property tax, it could be an assessment or a demand. In the context of mines, it could be a registration, a licensee, or evacuation. Any of these things could be events. While it is good to start monitoring the events, it is not just sufficient. It is important that we move to a level above this event, what we call it as an entity. And the entity here could be anything, not just the entity relating to a dealer. It could be an address, it could be an IP address, it could be a phone, and so on. And the third level of monitoring is network. Here is where we talk about monitoring group of entities. And this is where the benefit starts accruing in multiple ways. So I'll talk about some of these examples in a few minutes. The second aspect is, how do we monitor? Is there a silver bullet that a particular method will essentially generate the results what we look at? Our experience doesn't say so. Our experience says that given the diversity of the problem, given the maturity of the fraudsters, given the maturity of the entities involved, we essentially look at a range of techniques, and we call it as hybrid analytics for revenue intelligence. It starts with dealing with known patterns. Based on our experience, we essentially deploy business rules which are generated based on our experience. We slowly move into the realm of unknown patterns, where we look into identifying anomalies with respect to peer groups, with respect to behavior over a period of time. And the next level of sophistication is dealing the complex patterns. How do we deal with the complex patterns? Here is where we try to understand, using supervised techniques, based on the historical data, we try to identify what are those factors which are highly correlated to the behavior, what we are looking at. And then of course, the one which we are using a lot these days is being able to generate some sense out of the unstructured data. There's a lot of text that is generated during the course of operations, and that text essentially captures a lot of intelligence, and that need to be extracted. And that's where we talk about text analytics. And then of course, one of the very, very important things is where you may look into such number of cases being very low, but very, very high impact, is network analysis, being able to identify, monitor suspicious relationships between various entities in your business. All in all, we use combination of these techniques to identify suspicious behavior which relates to non-compliance, tax evasion, so that it can be detected and flagged off our investigation. Now, here are some of the examples or the use cases of the techniques which I spoke about. The first one, of course, is an example of a supervised technique. So here is where we're trying to identify, given that we have raised a demand, we need to identify the targets which will result in complying with that particular demand, which is nothing but recovery. So what are those factors? What are those attributes relating to entities and transactions where the recovery rate will be very high based on the demand raised? And if you look at here, some of the factors include the very high sales purchase ratio, certain commodities, the turnover category. Each of these factors are highly correlated to the recovery aspect of the demand. This is very, very important aspect, because the cost associated with recovery is very, very high, because most of these demands might fall into litigations. A second example, which is text analytics. If you look at some of these entries here, where there's a description of the goods details. Basically, this indicates the transactions that have happened between various dealers with the description of the goods, what they have dealt in or transacted in. Apart from the red flags, what you're seeing here, what we see, one of the red flag here is there is trading that is happening, or transactions that are happening between dealers across multiple categories. For example, a metal dealer, a food dealer, a garment dealer, a service dealer, which might indicate a probable bill trading. By the way, there was no clear specification that these dealers are handling a particular category. We extracted those things, those probable categories from the text that is listed here. And the last example, again, this is very, very interesting. We spoke about scoring the dealers. How do we score the dealers? The scoring of the dealers could be based on the experience. Here is where we're talking about underreporting of liability in GSTR 3B, overreporting of ITC, the benefit what has been claimed. And most interesting aspect is the dealer is involved in multiple suspicious networks. As what you see on the left side, this particular dealer is involved in multiple suspicious networks. As much as 17 networks is part of a suspicious behavior. And he could be the kingpin in terms of generating the fake invoices, fake bills, and supplying it to multiple networks. So we spoke about a few use cases and how advanced analytics with hybrid detection techniques will help. And again, whatever I spoke are in the context of the experiences what we have in Indian context based on our engagements, whether it is in GST, excise, mining, transport, healthcare, property taxes, including utilities. We are extensively engaged in multiple state governments, and we did create a lot of impact in generating revenue for these states. Lastly, why do we make a lot of difference? Why SaaS is of a low risk and high value choice? We essentially look at the problem right from data to intelligence, where we have to look into the quality of data, integrate the data, create a repository, and ensure that that is usable, so that all the techniques what we deploy on that essentially becomes very, very valuable. Our experience of dealing with data in India, whether it is citizen, whether it is property, whether it is dealer, whether it is transactions, we have immense experience of working with this particular data so that we could generate value to our customers as quickly as possible. And the ROI realized is multiple times the investment in the year one itself. Thanks a lot for giving this opportunity. I sincerely request to get in touch with our colleagues to know more about the use cases and the success what we demonstrated. I think we'll have a good exchange of ideas in terms of the best practices and the ideas what each of the officials who have joined from various departments as part of today's dialogue. I once again welcome the speakers to the event today, and we'll have experts speaking, sharing their ideas as part of today's event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Radha. And now I think we should start with the panel discussion. And as a first speaker, I will request Dr. Prithvi Raj to share his views. Dr. Prithvi, I think finance department is a backbone of a healthy financial state. And but I think the pandemic has affected everything. So I would like to ask you that, but you are known as one of the officers who have ideated many things, many new things, many new initiatives in the state. And we know that whether it is in health or in medical education or also in finance, you have came up with various innovations. So I would like to ask you that about the pandemic, how it has affected your department operations, and what sort of innovations you have done, to in terms of the finance of the state and the revenue optimization. Dr. Prithvi, please.
Thank you, Karthik. So first of all, like last 1.5 years, we all the states, governments, as well as the private sector has witnessed huge financial stress arising out of COVID-19 pandemic. Like in the state governments, like last year when the pandemic started in the March and April, we assessed at that time the very likely dip in the revenue was expected around 30% by Government of India also, and the state governments, and particularly for Rajasthan also. So that created a lot of panic also. So how to negotiate that sudden fall in the state government's own revenue, apart from the contribution by the central government or the grants and the central revenue shares. So that was really difficult time for all state governments. And at that time, I was just last 2.5 years, I was there as a Secretary Finance Revenue. In last couple of months, I moved here in Secretary Budget Finance. So that was a big task. So there are 2-3 ways to enhance the revenue of the state governments. One is like looking for the new streams, which is very difficult task. Another is how to incrementally improve the revenue resources in different revenue generating departments. And here comes the role of the data analytics or the different tools, or the how can you explore the new methodologies. So what we did is like our important revenue generating departments are, apart from GST, which is mainly controlled by the government of India, but still we have a lot of role of the state governments and state government machinery to improve the revenue. So apart from this GST, we have excise, we have registration stamps, mining, transport department, and petroleum and some other. So these are the main revenue earning departments. How you can go about it? The problem is like, so like we had last year we had around realized 85,000 crore rupees. So which translates around $15 billion. So how you regulate or understand or coordinate with different departments, there you need some integrated network, some formal system. So in last 3-4 years, we have data analytics being installed in the DOIT, and that we use in, and then we have a separate department called SDRI, State Department of Revenue Intelligence. And as a Secretary Finance Revenue, I was secretary for that also. So we have a very small department, 50-60 guys are there, and we had some fellow from the Ernst & Young as well as the guys from SAS also. So we had installed SAS software in the DOIT department in Government of Rajasthan that was basically and majorly used by the State Department of Revenue Intelligence to understand the transactions, the fraud systems happening in the GST, and how we can recover. Along with that, we use the department and software to analyze the data of like mining department and transportation. So we unearthed like 1 year's evasion of penalties as well as taxes in mining in tune of 11,000 crore rupees for year 18 and 19. We could recover some, but that led to the integration of different softwares called Iravanna and the transport department softwares, and so that the future revenue has increased. So this year we are witnessing 20-25% growth in mining revenue. So that was the main reason to connect that. How we arrived? That again, this data analytics and a lot of data mining, and we did a lot of things. So one is like big revenue loss. Another is like transport. We tracked movement of vehicles, and because there's a lot of chunk of data, so you cannot simply understand or you cannot just do calculation by hand or in traditional methods. So you do need IT experts. You do need software support. So since I myself do the data analysis in data software and some knowledge of R suite also, so I found SAS is much more comfortable. So many people know this SAS in here also, they can understand and bit easier to handle. And you can tailor made also. So that was one approach to do incremental revenue. Second, like you talked about the innovations in the revenue streams. We did like one marvelous thing in the excise department. So before my joining, so the revenue of excise was something like 6,500 crore rupees. And this year, including VAT and everything in the excise, ended around 13,000 crore rupees. So within 2.5 years, we doubled the revenue. And if I go particularly in 3 segments, there are 3 segments in excise. One is like beer, and second is like IMFL, and third is like country liquor. So if I pick up only country liquor, so their revenue was 2,100 crore. And last year we achieved 4,100 crore. So we just doubled in one segment. And what we did is like, we just think not incrementally, just to change the product, just to change the system. We replace it by one new product called, I named it like Rajasthan made liquor, RML. So with much apprehension, 1 year to convince the government, and we initially introduced it like cheap IMFL. Then last year I changed it to the RML, and then finally in 1 year we did like this jump of the revenue. So how we reached to this conclusion? We should go for product. We studied many other states. We use a lot of data also. We try to understand what is the behavior of people, what they want, what are the market prices. So you need a lot of things, and fortunately we have in the state government of Rajasthan, most of the department has their own softwares, data collection system, and the problem is like they do have, but they are all in silos. So you need an overarching framework to collate them, to make them sense out of it, and how to convert into the revenue. So that's where you can pitch in like SAS or any other software where you can actually crunch the data and bring out useful information. So that was where, and second, similarly, we did in registration stamps. So there's a huge jump in registration stamps this year. This ending March year, we despite COVID, we witnessed something around 25 to 30% growth month on month. In some months it was 45% growth. So we went into depth and we did a lot of things. Finally, against the 30% deficit, we could end up just 2% deficit last financial year. And so that makes a very comfortable situation for a state government, and which is reflected in this year's financial budgeting of the state government, where we did a lot of things, which I think probably we'll discuss in some other seminar. So one is this. So how we use like the SAS, the guys service from your companies were regular there. So how we can use, in fact, if you see the Revenue Intelligence Agency of Government of India, so they do revenue intelligence for income tax and sales tax and other, even for GST also. Similar organization setup exists probably only in 2 states. One is in Karnataka and second is Rajasthan. I may be wrong, but probably what I'm saying is because I never witnessed anywhere else. So the dedicated organization you just do need. If you don't have department, you put the people, at least 10, 15, 20 people, separate team to go into that. Because this is, and it is worth. It is worth. And here comes handy, like we have guys from Ernst & Young and the SAS software, and then we regularly, so like they did many things. Like we did, like they called many approach like hybrid analytical approach, some automatic business tools, some predictive modeling, how revenue will come, and then we find out the pattern in the data. Some are the known pattern, some are the unknown pattern, how data is behaving, and then finding out the people or the customer who are not fitting in that 2 standard deviation, going beyond that, and then catching them, and then tracking individually. And of late, what we did is we could get data from GST network also from Delhi, and using that data dumps to analyze in our system and to find out the faltering and the circular trading also. We sent many people in jail also for GST, and it was useful exercise to do it, and probably we get a reasonable boost. If we couple this with new innovations, we can actually have exponential growth. You want to know anything else, or any question, special question?
I'll come up with more questions, Dr. Prithvi. But I think it's great that you actually gave great insights about how revenue optimization is happening in various departments, and how being the Secretary Finance of Revenue, and you have played an important role using the technology, rightly using the technology. And also you mentioned that there's a huge scope further also to use technology. So I'll come up with more questions to you, Dr. Prithvi. I'll now move on to our another guest, Mr. Dhaneshwar B. Patil, Secretary for Revenue Department in Madhya Pradesh government. Dhaneshwar ji, I would like to ask you similarly if you can tell us some initiatives being taken in your department in terms of revenue optimization. It will be great for our audience. To you, Mr. Patil.
Namaskar. I agree with Dr. Prithvi regarding how the data analysis is useful for increasing the revenue potential of any state. But This is possible when the records should be a digital records, or the data should be available, and quality data is required for anything. If collection and data analysis, visualization of data, we require quality data, and online real-time data entry is very important for us. Generally, this is the challenge we are facing in Madhya Pradesh. We have faced in 2019 till 2019. We are not shifted our 100% data in digital platform. From 2019, we shifted all districts in a one platform. We are called Bhulek portal. It's a very important portal. And then we start with the other possibility of revenue generation, potential of revenue generation. Basically, the land revenue is a neglected subject in all over India, because land revenue is not important, because this is a historical, some blunders done by priestry during Britishers' time, during princely state. They are so exploited more. They are without rate is so high that now nobody want to again reimpose this revenue on agricultural land. But the second potential is that there. This second potential is non-agricultural land. It will be called diverted land. There are a lot of potential for residential purpose, taxation to residential land, taxation on industrial land is possible. But but the land record, quality of land record, pre-independence time is a very quality good record, because they collect the taxes very methodologically. They collect the data, they create a databases very well. But when we start ignoring the tax revenue from land, then everything is that the record of land records are also, the quality of land record is also not improved that much. That really is in bad shape. And the princely states, the land revenues are very not in good shape. So laterally, when we do settlements and everything, a lot of issues are there in land record. How to shift them in a digital platform is a very challenging issue. And we are created new ideas and new issues. We start with the computerization of land record in 2000, but this is an NIC basis decentralized way. But this does not solve the problem, because the data is so and in decentralized basis, we collecting the data and analysis is very challenging issue. From 2019 onwards, we have started a single portal and start the clarity and cleaning the data. And we introduce a new innovative tools for generating the revenues. Not only land revenue, because land revenue in agriculture land is not possible, because nobody wants to take convincing government for this increasing the taxes in agriculture land is very challenging because of the historical reason. But we have explored the other things like selling these copies of land records is very important revenue generation for us. More than 100 crore we are collecting from, we are getting 100 crore per year from this only not selling the citizen services, giving citizen services like Khasra, B1 and other land record legacy records. Previously, it is very tremendously, it is very difficult for citizens to take these copies, because they are required 2 days, 4 days for giving a rightful digital signature copy, certified copy of any land record. Now they are getting instantly. They are getting from any shop, any MP online shop or any Lok Seva Kendra, and everywhere, whenever he want, even he's sitting in his house, he can take the copy. So we are allowed all these things. We are all kiosks. We are using all kiosks for taking service, selling this all certified copies, providing services to the citizens. Second, we are doing we introduced this revenue accounting management system for those are non-agricultural land. Previously, we are doing silo, non-agricultural land and agricultural land taxation. The non-agricultural land, the register is different. Nobody knows ki in agriculture, they converted agriculture to non-agriculture or non-agriculture to agriculture. Nobody knows. The potential is so huge, I think more than 1,000 crore. This number is very small because compared to the other excise and other taxes, commercial GST tax, but the potential is huge, and it is indirectly, it is like a positive externality, creating the land record, quality of land record is creating positive externality to other departments like commercial tax. IG registration, stamp duty, all this, they indirectly affected by this quality of land record. So we are not calculating the impact on how they impacted on the other departments' revenue collection, but definitely we are all integrated all this our land records with IG registration also. Even we are integrated our land records with the urban departments for collection of home taxes. So this indirectly affect the increasing the taxation. The second, we are creating one platform only now. Only BULEC portal is the best portal, baseline portal. On depending on this same portal, whatever the schemes are there on land tax schemes. So whenever if you collect the taxes with land tag, then we will use the same one platform, that is BULEC portal. And so we increased our even previous year. Only our target is 400 crore. But without any, even this COVID and pandemic, we collected this more than 500 crore. Now 100 crore, more taxes we are purchased, we are collected. Second, we identified so much land, valuable lands in all over Madhya Pradesh, where they have site value. We can auction this land for collecting more revenue for revenue generation purpose. So we are also thinking in this line. We are putting one department is there, public asset management, PAM department we created, and we shift all this the valuable land sites to public assessment management department for selling the land, and we can create more than we are target 5,000 crores we are creating from this only public assessment management departments. We are planning to where target is given, and we know that very transparent we are doing all these things. Right. Third, the potential we are harnessing now, it is a Swamitva scheme, is a very, very useful scheme for us by Government of India declared, and we are almost equal, more than 1,500 villages we are covered by this drone survey, and only creating the land record, digitized land record, GIS land records plus record of rights. Our potential is increased now 150 crores we are per year. We can get home taxes, revenue tax from diverted land, means Abadi land, which is give up by the we already give up, but now due to this creation of land record, we get more than 100 crores. We will get X per year. Will in the next few years we will get 100 crores. Now within only 1,500 villages we are getting more than 10 crore rupee. Next year we can get this is potential we created now. The third is property tax rural habitat. Third is data monetization. It's very important for us. Now we are realized that this data monetization, this is a big data available with us, the land record map. Not only land BULEC portal, the big data is there, but there is other data also, GIS data, maps are there, record of rights are there, the legacy records are available there, and even the banks require this data. Even this agriculture companies are required this data for their inputs, and output, whatever the input they are giving, Adan Pradan, jo bol sakte hai. Then for this purpose, they require a lot of data analysis. So we are using this, like we are also with constant touch with the bankers, and we start with data monetization with one is the diversion and bank mortgage for purpose. We already share the data with the bankers and we get revenue. Second, we are the bankers and even the agriculture input companies also, we are constantly in touch with us. So we are sharing with them that data, and we are thinking on other options also, revenue model generation. And we think that we'll get there's a lot of potential here in data monetization. Maybe it is indirectly we can get a lot of money without any directly. The citizen will not impact on this data monetization. With this directly, we are not required difficulties. It is very difficult for us to directly collect the taxes from citizens because it requires a lot of agreement is required with the political bosses and everything. But data moderation is a new opportunity for us. Third is a revenue court case management system. It is also an online portal. Our is portal, and we are every case we are registering now. The citizens are directly online. They register the case for mutation, for partition, for charging the land, charging bandak, means charging bank mortgage. On all these things, we previously done required a lot of amount, like for they require talwana with stamp and everything. A lot of issues are there. We are converted in only one fee, only 100 rupee, pay 100 rupee, and you can only one entry tax, one time tax, one time fee per court fee. 100 rupee they paid 100 rupee, then we'll do hearing, and within 4-5 months we'll dispose the cases. So we get a lot of money from this. We get 10 crore rupees only by RCMS revenue code management system. So these are a lot of potential. We are harnessing the other alternatives, and I hope this in future maybe the land is very valuable for everyone, and they give the tax. It will definitely creates. It will give you a contribution to the whole contribution to the whole state budget. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Patil, thank you so much for sharing some really good things about how quality land records is important, how data monetization can happen, and how your department can help in revenue collection in various other departments. Thank you so much for sharing these insights, and I would now like to come to Mr. Arvind Mishra. Mr. Arvind Mishra, who is Additional Commissioner of GST in Government of Rajasthan. Mr. Mishra, welcome. And we had a great talk about Rajasthan's financial ecosystem by Dr. Prithvi. I would like to ask you that how are you and your department is leveraging the technology, and how you look forward to create a future-ready infrastructure. So I would like to ask you that what is going on in your department, Mr. Mishra.
Thank you, Karthik, and thank you, Valet, for giving this opportunity to be here and share my thoughts. First, we should discuss why we need the technology. What is our taxation system? What is the revenue of our state? The tax revenue has major contribution to the total revenue of state. And in tax revenue, the VAT and GST, this makes almost 63% of total state tax revenue. Since this is a very major contributor, so state ought to put much emphasis on these taxes and to improve the management of these taxes and to increase the revenue from these taxes. Initially, if you go in the historical background of taxes, earlier taxes was imposed at one stage of taxable event. After when the economy grew up, we started imposing tax on every successive event. That is called multiple event taxation. When we go for this multiple event taxation, the successive event taxation, the number of taxable persons increased substantially. So to deal with this huge number of taxation, we can't verify each and every dealer taxable person's accounts. To whom what we should verify, to whom should we verify, which transaction should be verified. These things has to be selected on the basis of some information. And to get this information, the analysis of data is very important. With inception of GST, almost everything is online at present. Since the from registration, everything is online. When the taxable person first in contact with our department, he applies for registration and gets a registration after certain months. When he starts doing business, he deposits his tax online, he files his result online, he takes his refund online, and any query if he wants to take from us or anything he want to ask from us, that is every system is online. To manage the tax, three elements are there. First is ensure reporting of transactions. Second is analyzing verifying the transactions that are reported. And third is the finding unreported or underreported transactions. These three elements are very important. The first is ensure reporting. So how the reports are ensured? Reports are given to the department through a statement that is called return. So first, to ensure the compliance, the depository tax return compliance has to be ensured. When return is submitted, we have a certain set of data. We have details of transaction done by taxable person during a particular period. Now, what we have to do now, whether these are the reports are submitted are correct or not, whether they are annually, whether the data submitted by the SSC are correct, whether data are contradicting each other. We at present, the GSM system has developed a particular portal that is called BIFA, Business Intelligence Force Analysis Portal. Through this portal, analyzing the data available with it in different modalities, like it verifies the outward supplies declared in a return with the outward supply declared in transaction-wide detail, that is called GSTM. It analyzes the ITC taken by an SSC from a particular set group of persons. You might have heard about the fraud ITC, that is very hot topic now. So what is that ITC, fraud ITC is people are supplying the bills without supplying the commodities. Certain elements developed in ITC, this GSTM ecosphere. So to find out this person, we have to analyze the data with what we are having. And this is very helpful at present, but what we are using. Prior to BIFA, we are getting the red flag reports from GSTM. There are certain set of reports which verifies whether the different data submitted by the dealer, the taxable person, are contradicting each other. Is there an anomaly? Is there an outliner? Who is the old man? So we can't check all the transaction. And moreover, we have to make the system transparent. Transparency means we make the system objective based, not subjective based. So whom we should check? It is not decided by any subject, any person. It is decided by the person. What is to be checked? That is decided by the system. Who is to be checked? Who is outliner? Where we have found anomaly in his reports, where we find that he is deviating from his peer group behavior. He is deviating from his own previous behaviors. These are the analytics which we are doing all these things. And last thing that I mentioned is finding unreported or underreported transaction. That is very difficult, because what we are doing nowadays is we are analyzing different data through MI, through ML, through AI, artificial intelligence. The data, but we are comparing different data, but we have in our GST system. To get the those transactions which are not reported to our system or which are underreported, we have to match the data which we have with data of other agencies like banks, different economic organizations, with the IT department, with different like electricity department, power supplier. So we have to compare that data with the data which we don't have in our system. For that, our Honorable Chief Minister has made a declaration in budget that a center of excellence for revenue analysis will be established in state of Rajasthan. And to that, a technical support unit is being established in Rajasthan for all revenue, tax revenue earning department of Rajasthan. This unit will consist of different technical persons who have knowledge of data analytics, and they'll do this data analytics and give the reports to department take action on it.
Right. Right. Thank you, Mr. Mishra, for wonderfully explaining how GST and your department is using data analytics as well as the artificial intelligence and modern technologies to, frame out the right functioning of tax collection. Thank you so much. And now I will request Mr. Rajan Satardekar, Director of Transport in Government of Goa. Sir, would you like to share some of the citizen-centric initiatives in your states which have been taken in revenue collection? So your views, Mr. Rajan, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, all my co-panelists, my seniors, and on the team of Technomedia Elets. Goa is a small, beautiful state. It's like it can be compared with one of the districts of a bigger states. We have 2 districts. Population is about 14.5 lakhs. Vehicle population is about 14.8 lakhs. Vehicle population is comparatively quite higher, so it becomes a challenge for the department. We have about 10 lakh driving license holders in the state. Just I'll give a quick profile of our revenue. Our revenue collection for 1920 is about 299 crores. This year, due to COVID, it is affected. COVID has affected us very badly because Goa is a tourism-dependent state. So tourism was hit. In the first 2-3 months of COVID pandemic, the collection had come down to about 10% of previous year. So then it gradually grew up to 30 to 50%. And this at the end of March, we are collecting about 80% of what was last year. Of course, a lot of innovations and initiatives have been taken up of government. It is a central subject. It is in the concurrent list of Constitution of India, transport subject. The principal act is Motor Vehicle Act 1988. The tax is a state subject. So we have 2 major taxes, that is motor vehicle tax and passenger tax. Both are technology driven. Through we are on a cloud platform of NIC, which is a pan-India application, Vahan and Sarthi. We are on the latest version, and all whatever initiatives taken by the MORTH, which is the MORTH is on a continuous spree of a lot of technological advancement through various amendments we can see in the last 2-3 years. Okay. And Goa is a small state, well led, well administered, peaceful state. Everyone's on wish list, and I'm happy to be a part of the state administration. Okay, in this technologically innovative process of implementing things. We have it is through API driven between the MORTH and our co-departments. We have taken, I'll just highlight few initiatives which have been facilitating revenue collection as well as delivery of services for the citizens. Payments are entirely online by digital mode. You can pay through your online account, you can pay through an app. I'm happy to share that more than 80% tax collection comes through digital mode. Okay. Even in the offices, people use card and smart card and payment gateway. Recently, in the last year, 2020, entire enforcement is digital. Like all the traffic police and enforcement machinery is given handheld POS machines, which is integrated with the MORTH database of Sarthi and Vahan. So now, the offenses are tracked basically when there are multiple recurring offenses. The officers come to know because there are higher fines if there are repeat offenses. Also, it goes into the history of a driving license holder as well as of that vehicle. So it is a big game changer in terms of quality of enforcement as a deterrence. Last year, about 770,000 challans were issued for this tiny states through this POS machine. Uh, we have already implemented HSRP, that is higher registration security plates for the vehicle. New vehicle, it comes pre-fitted, as well as local vendors are appointed for older vehicles, and that drive is going on. State has received about 50 EV buses, and total 200 are expected in the next 2-3 months. So Goa will be running on these eco-friendly buses, which are environment friendly, less pollution. These are the few things. We are implementing a digital meter for all the taxes. Shortly, the implementation will start, wherein there will be transparency, there will be data available and as the co-speaker rightly said, data is the key for decision making. So that is happening now gradually, that database is building up, intelligent systems are being developed. So we can predict the future needs, future demands. Policy decisions are getting more and more based on this information, and it is benefiting everyone. It's benefiting the administration, it's benefiting public. So these are some of the things. Definitely, if anything is there, I'll answer in the question after question session.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rajan. I think Goa is, though a smaller state, but a very higher density of vehicles, as you said, and still keeping it eco-friendly and citizen-centric, and at the same time optimizing revenue collection. So how you are doing that, it's great to know from you. And again, another person from another state, the same segment, transport. We have Mr. Shalabh Sahu, who is Assistant Transport Commissioner in Government of Chhattisgarh. Welcome, Mr. Sahu. And I would like to ask you, Mr. Sahu, that how do you think that, firstly, you can also talk about how pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic has affected the overall functioning, the revenue collection of Transport Department, and how your department is using technology for optimum revenue collection in your state. Mr. Sahu, please. Yes.
Good afternoon, all of you. We just had a discussion with Transport Department of Goa. I fully agree with his view of transport, as he has briefed that transport is in concurrent list where the government of India can also formulate a law, and we can also make a law. So it's in concurrent list. Taxation. I'm limiting my discussion. I will take a very less time. I'm limiting my discussion in revenue point of view. If you see in the transport segment, we are getting 3 kind of taxes actually. The lifetime tax we get from the vehicle, personal vehicle like motorcycle, car, which we buy for our personal use. They give lifetime tax. Lifetime tax means they give tax for the 15 years, and after that for renewal, we don't charge tax. We charge very small fees. And the second type of tax is the quarterly tax, which is given by the goods vehicle, mainly the trucks. And the third type of tax is the given by buses, which is called monthly tax. Their frequency of payment of tax is monthly. So if you divide the segment wise, challenge of every segment is quite different. I'm explaining one by one. Like if we see the lifetime vehicle, like the personal vehicle, which pays the tax once in a lifetime. So when you are talking about the revenue, there are 2 things. We need to plug the leakages, and we need to find way to make some additional revenue for the state. I'm talking about the plugging the leakages. So when you are paying the lifetime tax, means you can't evade the tax, but how you will increase the tax? That's the question. So in the lifetime tax category, we charge the tax on the sell invoice of the vehicle. Means The same vehicle, let us assume that if Maruti is selling some vehicle in the Raipur and we are charging 8% or 9% tax, depend upon their sell invoice, we should ensure that all the dealers, vehicle dealers, should be paying the same tax. But what the dealers do, they make different invoice on the different vehicle. So there is a leakage of tax when same vehicle in the same city on the same day, they're invoicing differently, means we are charging the tax on the basis of percent. The tax is changing. So there is a leakage in that. We are trying to plug it. We are thinking, and it is in the pipeline, that whatever will be your invoice value, we are trying to pull the vehicle invoice price from the manufacturer, from the homologation. So once it will be logged from the manufacturer, there will be this leakage will be plugged in. Now I'm coming in the quarterly tax segment. Quarterly tax segment, generally the trucks comes in the quarterly tax segment. They pay the quarterly tax. Most of the time, quarterly tax vehicles defaults their quarterly tax. Like if you see in the currently, if you see, we need to have 200 crore taxes pending with transporter in the quarterly tax segment. And biggest challenge in quarterly tax segment is identifying the tax defaulter, locating their address, getting them to pay the tax. For that, biggest problem is locating those addresses. Many times we have seen because of legacy, because of old data, because of manual registration system, many of the address are fake. The person moved from that address, so we are not able to recover those taxes. For that, we are evaluating a solution. We are thinking that all the registration certificate, if vehicle is registering, will deliver it by post. So the address will be cross-checked by third party, not by the transport department. Third party will be India Post. So when they will default, there is a very high probability that will be able to locate those tax defaulter people. That's our second strategy. When we are talking about the third category of tax, that is monthly tax. Monthly tax is paid by generally passenger vehicle bus, and the tax is based on the number of kilometers and number of passengers they are carrying. So what we do, they take permit. Suppose they are taking the permit of 100 kilometers, but they are flying for 300 kilometers. Every day we can't monitor them. So they are evading the tax of, let us assume, 200 kilometers. How we will plug that leakage? For that, we are thinking to roll out the GPS-based vehicle location system. So how much kilometer they are traveling per day, that will be calculated by GPS system, and our tax leakage will be reduced. Now it comes, these are the three tax system. Now when we are planning for covering leakages, so there is a fourth part that is called our enforcement part. If someone is evading the tax, we need to catch them. So we are making a stronger enforcement by various new innovatives, like in the Goa Transport Department, they are using handheld system. In the same way, in the Chhattisgarh also, we are using a handheld device. We are using a e-challan, and all challans are paid by online mechanism only, so that there should be transparency in the challaning system. Now, when we are in the enforcement side, there is one more typical problem in transport segment. Like most of the goods vehicle, many times they try to have overload of goods, and the penalty for overloading is very high, because and as you know, after the 2019 amendment in the Motor Vehicle Act, it's very high. So they somehow make some other way. They are escaping they are not traveling through the main route. They are diverting the route. So for that, what we are doing in the sub route, which is not commonly used, we are planning to install a ANPR camera, so that we'll be having the idea of vehicle moving in the other route where our enforcement officers are not standing there, so that we'll be able to divert our manpower in some other route where the vehicle is being diverted in the same direction, to have very transparent transparent enforcement system. We are buying a weighbridge. Weighbridge, apart from that, will be the complete solution that will be unique in the India. Weighbridge attached with the ANPR. ANPR is automatic number plate recognition system with auto chalaning facility, and that will be integrated with our database. Database is pan India same, that is the Vahan. So the once the vehicle is crossing through our weighbridge, that will be installed on the road. If vehicle is detected overloaded, then there will be algorithm. The algorithm will detect if some vehicle is overloaded, automatically data will be pulled from the Vahan, and data analysis will be done, and the automatic challan on the difference amount of overloading will be generated, and that will be served electronically, as well as will serve it by post also. That will be very new concept. It is not implemented anywhere in India. Will be first. I think in the next 2 or 3 months we'll be able to roll out that automatic weighbridge system in the Chhattisgarh. And if we are talking about the city premises, like in the Raipur city, Raipur is a smart city. So we have integrated traffic management system, ITMS system. There also we are doing the automatic challan on the basis of the cameras. Apart from this is our traditional mechanism of transport. If you see the COVID scenario, if you see since last 1 month, on the 9th of April, Raipur is in lockdown, and last year also 2 months there was a complete lockdown. So when there is a complete lockdown, our revenue fall very drastically, because our dealer point, the person who sells vehicle, dealers, automobile dealers, their shops are closed. Once shops are closed, means they are not selling vehicle, and we are also not getting our lifetime taxes, which is almost around 50% of our revenue. Means in the Chhattisgarh we are getting in the normal time we used to get around 500 crore from the lifetime tax. If you see April, our lifetime tax is 0, and the last year also April and May it was 0. So it's quite challenging. Suddenly, like average revenue for our month is around 120 crore in a month. But if you see the April revenue today is 30th, it is around 45 crore. Means we are going down by 60% of the revenue, and it is very hard to fulfill that gap. However, we are thinking of some innovative mechanism, like central government has recently rolled out the scrapping policy for old vehicles. Means central government is trying to discourage the old vehicles because they are more polluting, and they require more maintenance, and if old vehicle will be scrapped, then there will be boost in purchase of new vehicle. So in the same direction, we are also thinking, as I told, the lifetime taxes for 15 years. After 15 years, we don't charge tax for the renewal of vehicle, but we are thinking of imposing a green tax for the renewal of vehicle. It will be a additional revenue for us. And in the same way, like Madhya Pradesh revenue department is eased of the some process of making duplicacy of certified copy or something. In the same way, we also had a citizen-centric service where for many certificate or certified copy of registration, driving license, and very various miscellaneous certificate permits, we have given them citizen facilities. So once you can log in your portal, you can verify your mobile number, engine number, and chassis number of vehicle. You can pay the desired fees, and you can take the designed certificate. That is also increasing our revenue, because once it is easy, so our number of transaction increases and our tax base increases. In that way also our revenue is increasing. But if you see the future, because of COVID, transport is the one of the most worst hit segments. We are tax revenue is very less. We are falling drastically. So in the same way, if you're talking about the enforcement, we need to have data analysis. We are currently planning to have a strong data analysis. For data analysis, there are two requirements. One, current data is our digitized data, but you're talking about the 10-year back data or 15-year back data, that is the manual data. First thing, we are thinking that we should bring that old data, manual data, in some digitized form.
Right.
Then once all the data, old data and new data will be in the digitized form, we are going for, most probably we are going for the artificial intelligence to how to identify the leakage area, who are the tax defaulter, what are the category, which are the area, and how to plug it. So that will be the overall scenario on the transport department in the Chhattisgarh. We are using technology, and we are also planning to have artificial intelligence, your SAS, to increase our revenue. But recently we are not in good position because of COVID. Thank you.
Right, times will be better, I think, Mr. Sahu, in coming days. Hope for the best, but you have actually rightly analyzed the whole situation. You have shared great insights about how during COVID and now post COVID, how you are using technology and also keeping the transport services citizen centric. Thank you so much. And Mr. Radha Krishna, I would like to come to you on this. You have listened to all these government leaders, dealing with revenue management of the revenue leakages. They have shared some system challenges, maybe some technology challenges, various kind of challenges. They have also shared that what they go through as a technology provider. What as a a player in technology, how do you see your role in bridging the technology gap or the gap of whatever the challenges they face? What is the role you would like to play as an organization, Mr.
Yeah.
Radhakrishnan?
Thanks, Karthik. I think it was very, very interesting to hear from the various leaders in the government, and the problems that were stated, the achievements that were stated by achieving the level of automation, and the challenges what they've stated with respect to last one and a half year pandemic situation, and how they are trying to deal with that, to still manage to increase the revenue. I think I'll just slot these issues into 3 or 4 categories. I think one, what Dr. Prithvi started saying in terms of having a vision of consolidating multiple departments, because these departments are highly interrelated. I mean, when we talk about interrelated, GST, utilities, corporation data, all of this essentially is very, very related. And I think some states, what you mentioned, Karnataka and as well as Rajasthan, having a vision to integrate all of this data and create something called a state data revenue intelligence center will go a long way in terms of, getting the data into a single repository and being able to provide intelligence to the individual departments to identify leakages and identify strategies to increase revenue. Third is very, very important in terms of cross-leverage the data across these departments. Often we come across situations where there is interdependence between departments in terms of generating the analysis or analytics, and quite often for bureaucratic hurdles, those things generally end up with some level of non-cooperation.
Right.
So I think the state data revenue intelligence is definitely a long-term solution to kind of provide intelligence to multiple departments. I think a couple of things what have been also mentioned around on the transport side. I mean, very, very lucidly explained in terms of what are the different streams of revenue and how those streams of revenue get impacted, either because of environmental situation what we are facing, and also because of the moral hazard, and how they are starting to adopt technologies over there. Based on our experience, Karthik and the fellow speakers, we have extensively worked with multiple states in most of these use cases in the context of identifying revenue leakage and fraud, where we have seen data being used as an asset and which can be exploited to generate insights, and these insights can be essentially used to identify leakages. And I think one statement which I can make very, very confidently is that while in some departments we have an issue around data, but in most departments we don't have the issue of data deficiency. It is more to do with a lot of data being available over there. So I'll talk later in terms of how we are dealing with the challenges of data. But however, the statement what I want to make here is most of the departments have realized multiple times their investment in the year one itself as an ROI by usage of analytics. Case in point is Rajasthan. Case in point is where we worked with Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and other states, where they have exploited the data to generate ROI multiple times their investment in the year one itself. I'll talk more about this later, Karthik.
Yeah,
we can get into the next section.
Right. So thank you, Radhakrishna. And now I'll be, I think, taking the closing remarks only in the next round from our speakers, and I will come to you, Dr. Prithvi. You had actually shared your visionary views, like leadership views, what is happening in the government sector and how revenue optimization is happening, and you also shared some challenges in the usage of technology and modern technologies like data analytics. I would like, as you said, that systems are also working in silos at times. So I would request you to just stress upon what sort of challenges in this ecosystem can be faced and how can they be overcome. So if you just throw some light on that, Dr. Prithvi.
So I thanks all of the speakers. They spoke very well, and particularly the Chhattisgarh, and Radhakrishnan, Salab Sahu. They have very insight and detailing about how they can use softwares and the other re-engineering the process and redesigning. They spoke about, even Madhya Pradesh talk about all those things. So when it comes the overarching picture of the revenue, so there you need to be figuring out how we can collate, collaborate, and create such a framework where we can actually achieve synergies between the departments. See, for doing that, we have one common training institute here in Rajasthan also. We call it a STAR. So all 5 revenue departments making people sit together and get trained and increase the collaboration. So we're doing a lot of experimentation. In fact, the SDRI is also 10-year-old institution, but we could actually get results in last 3.5 years. Since I was here, and before that, they did a lot of groundwork, but results were now in last 3 years. Similarly, we have a common training institutes and common meeting ground for all these revenue generating departments. So the problem like challenges you talked about, there are 2-3 kind of challenges. One is already the existing challenges are we work in the silos, and all revenue departments sharing the informations is very difficult, since most of the processes are either in traditional manner in the bookkeeping form and hard copies. Second, if we have gone somewhere computerization or digitization, so that's fine. That's the first stage, and which is mostly in most of the states. So where all departments have some sort of computerization and digitization. So that's fine. Now you need to interact these softwares and platforms with each other. So interaction is very much required. So how interaction will be possible? So like one example is like Aadhaar card. So they made a interaction with a different data source across the country, but they have just 6-7 parameters, so it has a limited utility. Similarly, like we have, like all states or even like central government have a software called IFMS, Integrated Financial Management System. We have our own financial management system. They have PFMS, we have IFMS. So our system is like 13-year-old. So we have our own, and which much prior to the government of India, we created here in Rajasthan, and then successive people have nurtured, which I directly looks after. The Integrated Financial Management System, by which we run the treasuries. So like my turnover is around 2 lakh crore, good size of bank. So we run some 39 or 40, 51 treasuries along with 230 sub treasuries. You can call them bank branches. So we are doing same operations, and now we are creating IFMS 3.0 software, which more integration of department, their sanctions automatically happening. So data point is entered in the one place, and then it should not be re-entered anywhere. Then it will be correct, and there should be real-time representation everywhere. So what problem we are facing is like we have good quality and quantity of digitization in all departments. Even say for labor department in Rajasthan, it's quite very well digitized, and they do end-to-end solution from their software, and they are linked in somewhere in our existing IFMS integrated financial management software 2.0. So what problems we are facing is now we are actually started working how a 3.0 platform can be created where the different departments directly interact through their software. We already hired the people and we have started. And we have gone to private sector, we're making provisions like 20 crore rupees for creating a software in the next 1.5 years. And we are hiring people from Nixie and all those things and going for newer technologies. Although I may not be very, I'm heading that project, I may not be very well versed, but technical people are always there, but I have a fair idea of what we actually need to do. So what is needed is, the problem is data interaction, data speaking to each other, making a sensible report and creating an opportunity to how to generate revenue. So till now, the all speakers have talked about, one is like finding out the leakages. Second is having incremental growth by finding this. What I am looking for is next one more step ahead. I am saying if I have a data, I understood I analyze them, put them in a sensible way, and I call it like a continuum. I call it like when you have a data, if you arrange data, that become information. When you put the information into some use, it becomes knowledge. And when you use this knowledge for a productive purpose, it becomes wisdom. This is a continuous spectrum. So, and again, most of the people, and particularly in government sectors, we are struggling at the level of data and information. Some are moving towards the knowledge. So how we translate this into revenue, translate this into a better policy design. So better policy design is like, if I am distributing a scholarship, I am distributing a scholarship or social assistance scheme in labor department, in social justice department, even in agriculture marketing, mandis, and education department, and so forth. So why a guy can take benefit for so many places, or he need to apply at so many places, and at the same time, my finance department may not be capturing all the data, and or if I am capturing, they are entering at the secondary level, so there will be always gap. There won't be any real-time data. So we are working on like 3.0 software. So what I'm asking or sharing is, we need to use these data for new policy design, and we should use this is called like evidence-based policy making. So that will actually take us to the next level of revenue saving in terms of whatever duplication is happening under the ground, and what revenues or money going like one nation, one ration creating by this ration card, we could save a lot of people from having double ration cards and getting benefits of this. So that will be the second level of revenue, how you do. And if both these coupled with the new inventions and meeting on new revenue schemes, which we may learn from these data analytics, that's what I'm saying is in making evidence-based policies. So if we could form evidence-based policies, that will be the real purpose. So for that, we create a holistic system, more interacting with these things. So the bottlenecks are these. We need to take it like from data to wisdom, translate this data to information, to knowledge, and to the wisdom. So one spectrum, we need to conclude this. Second is the data in different departments, different platforms should speak each other, should interact each other, and should give discernible, understandable, and useful informations and reports. There are kind of thousands of reports. We don't need that. We actually need to focus on those where we can get the revenue, where we can correct the system, not only the revenue. So revenue, additional increasing revenue. Second is avoiding losses in other departments also, not only the revenue departments. We may fall to catch defaulters in GST or in VAT or in excise and so forth, and mining. But what about the other departments where the expenditure is happening? So data is useful there also. So they like the kind of software we have, the n number of softwares. The EGN and common is SAS, like in SAS in India. The other one is like Stata, may not be very popular, but I know this. And then third one like Python and R Suite, and then n number of softwares and algorithms are available to use and employ that. So probably the time has come in India to we go for large scale of streamlining and collating or then creating a common platform, at least for states, not for center. I'm against that center should have a common platform that has cyber threats and all those other things. The other things comes into also picture. So while we're going into digitizing, this will be the future challenge, how we deal with that. So that needs to be kept in some provision so the black swan event shouldn't happen. So that's where how we can put the traditional knowledge of the departments in to align with the existing technologies to get the maximum output. So probably that explains the what problems, and one problem is inertia with the departments and people who are not familiar with. So probably most of the part has already gone. But when it comes to the data analytics and the advanced data and the advanced reporting, probably government should go beyond the government sector and hire the people from private sector, and they will be better guys and to manage them. So they will be more flexible and they will generate reports for you. And in private sector, we don't have dearth of people to people like you guys are smart guys and we can have them. So मिल सकते हैं बहुत सारे लोग, तो उनको लेना चाहिए, because government में हमारा अपना the problem is like we have DOIT departments, IT departments, and these guys are like after 10 years they become outdated. So the technology changes. So you every time you need expert. The private sector people in market you get good amount of people. So we kept like in last 6 months we put up many teams of technical guys. There's like so that right directly 2 teams under me, one for the IFMS 3, and they all are dealing with creating new platform and which interacting platform for right from finance to the data analytics, and we'll add on all those things. Second, we have created like mobilizing capital in the market. So we have SBI cap or arrangement with the SBI cap and sitting people here for generating revenue for other than the budget resources. So you need to have a holistic picture. So not only from revenue collection, from expenditure, the right sizing the expenditure, as well as avoiding the possible leakages in the expenditure or overlapping. What we say, of course, supported by the whole data mining with evidence-based policy making and creating new revenue streams, going for exponential growth.
Right.
Thank you, Karthik. That's good. And anything else, if I can say?
Thank you, Dr. Prithvi. I think you have summarized it really well, and focus on data, how important data is, and how we can make data, convert data into wisdom, and how data can be, interact well, how data can be analyzed well, and and also you said that how even public-private partnership can also help into this revenue saving, revenue optimization, using the very important thing today that the world has, which is data. Thank you so much for the great thoughts and these closing remarks from your side. I'll quickly come to Mr. Gyaneshwar Patil, Secretary of Revenue Department in Madhya Pradesh. Mr. Gyaneshwar Patil, you actually talked some very important points like quality land records. You spoke about how data can be monetized. You also focused largely on data. So I would request you to quickly summarize and share your tips how the revenue departments in the country can help in revenue collection and can use better technologies for that. Mr. Gyaneshwar Patil, please.
Actually, we are changing a lot of, actually in land record, if you use, you want to use the technology for generation revenue, required a lot of changes in legal framework. Because the legal frameworks are developed in 1950s, 70s, rules are there, the codes are land revenue codes are different codes are there, and they're creating a lot of restrictions for new technology, introducing new technology. So we started changing the Land Act in 2018, and then we have changed the rules in 20. So this time we say, and as per the new needs of our new needs, required needs, we change the law, act. So first we introduced there the unique land parcel ID. It's the first time we introduced in our Khasra. In Khatoni, we introduced the landowner ID. It's first unique because we know that there are a lot of people, the different people's, the land record is entered, it is a badi bhav, but this is not actually in Aadhaar number, there is a different name. So it is not possible for us to take the information that how much land he has and how many acre his land and is there and how is it coming in the taxation purpose or not. This analysis is very difficult. So we are starting with a unique ID, and this unique ID is a Samagra ID, which is already we are using in the social sector in Madhya Pradesh. We're tagging with this ID with our each farmers and each landowner, also not farmer, it is landowner. Plus, we introducing a unique land parcel for each landowner. So it created a lot of with data cleaning we are doing in this way. We can get the knowledge information. Collecting information is possible with this clarity of changing the land. Second, the data monetization is very important. We are thinking there is a lot of potential for this data monetization. We are thinking of differently, like agriculture inputs and agriculture output. Not only agriculture inputs and output, but other purpose. This data monetization, a lot of potential is with big data. But we are thinking in other way also. We are not doing it exclusively. We are not doing this exclusively, because if you do exclusively, then it is ultimately the impact on the citizens and customers. So we are providing all the data with minimum rates. We decided the rates. We discussion with the bankers. We discussion with agriculture input companies and agriculture output companies. So we are giving a simple, fair rates are we deciding, so that everyone can take this data and they can use this data and they can search the potential. Not only this, we are tagging with this the cadastral maps. Not only this, they can easily identify where they want to go and where they can contact. We are creating such a big data that the contact numbers are also there. Not only this, not only a unique ID and everything, contact numbers are also available with us. And we can provide them in a specific way, required specific purpose. We can send messages also to these people, and so they can contact with each of them, and they can use, change the behavioral change can easily possible with this database.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ganeshwar Patil. Now I request Mr. Rajan for his closing remarks from a beautiful state of Goa. Mr. Rajan, please.
It was a brilliant sharing of insight from the co-panelists. It's really enriching. Data sharing is the future. Also, the suggestion that department should be interconnected, that is also, is the key for success and for bright future. Business intelligence, artificial intelligence, analytics is the key, to make our life better, prevent leakages, implement new ideas, work smartly to enhance the productivity, smart work, and ultimately, enhance the quality of life of the public as well as the organizations. Goa is, in the mode of adopting a lot of technologies. Like we are planning for intelligent transport management system. We are planning for auto approvals in most of these services. Okay, if something machines can do, why humans should interfere? That kind of thing. You make a payment, and your certificates are back to your own email ID or your own device, which you can print, and the whole process is complete. So thank you, Elets and SAS, for connecting to this great panelists. It is an enriching experience, and definitely it will help everyone. Let's make our place beautiful, state beautiful, country beautiful, and let's make this planet beautiful with more and more innovative technologies and intelligent thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rajan. And now I request Mr. Arvind Mishra, Additional Commissioner for GST in Government of Rajasthan. Your closing remarks, Mr. Mishra, please.
Thank you, Karthik. It's very nice to hear and I learned a lot, especially from Professor getting Mr. Ganeshwar. He very rightly said that from different departments must be integrated. One more thing I point out here is that the state is largest recipient of service and goods. As in GST, we did with supply, one facet of this supply is there, for which tax is paid. State is recipient, and whatever state is getting is definitely supplied by someone. So when we detect the chain of fake invoices, if fake supplies to the state is detected, then revenue state would be saved to an extent. So this thought must be floated also, that whatever state is receiving, the bill state is receiving, whenever they are verified as a fake bill, the state must look into the payment they are making. And it's very good experience. Thank you all panelists. Thank you, Elect.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind Mishra. And now I request Mr. Shelab Sahu, you really very well explained the whole ecosystem of Chhattisgarh transport and the challenges and opportunities. I'll request Mr. Sahu for closing remarks from you.
Thank you, everyone. This session is very much informative for me. I learned what other state are doing in their finance segment, and as the sir has Secretary Sir from Rajasthan has told that apart from in the most of the revenue department, we are thinking about plugging the leakages and incremental change in the revenue. Apart from that, there is a third dimension, which is the data analysis, how we are converting data into information, how information is being converted into wisdom, and how that wisdom will be in the continually change for the integration of different ecosystem of the finance. And I do agree with that, and I also do agree with his two new concept. One, that for the data, that we should be having some specialized unit, like they are having revenue intelligence unit in the Rajasthan. In the same line, we can try for revenue intelligence unit, maybe for the finance department, or maybe for the transport department, who will be specifically looking after the revenue segment of the department, because we are the one of the important revenue department of the state. And I do have one more analysis from your discussion, that if you are going for the data and we are going for the analysis, then we are going for the technology. The government sector, somehow we can't cope up with changing technology, so there should be very there is a need of the hour that private sector specialization of the technology should be used by the government to evolve the data analysis. It may be by SAS, it may be by artificial intelligence. So that is the future of the revenue earning department. That's what I think. And thanks, the information season is very much enlightening for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sahu. And Mr. Radhakrishna, Director in SAS, I would like to request you to please deliver the closing remarks from your side.
Yeah, thanks, Karthik. And it was wonderful to listen to each one of you, my panelists, this afternoon, sharing the insights from your perspective. Based on our experience of working in India across multiple departments, across multiple states, I think the journey from data to actionable intelligence, whether it relates to transport, excise, mining, any other revenue departments, the journey is focused mostly on the data quality, data integration. And that's where we are very, very strong in. And when we look at the problem, we look at in its entirety, right from data to generating the actionable intelligence. And I'm sure, most of the panelists, almost all the panelists are agreeing to the fact that we need to invest quite a bit on data, and then essentially use analytics to generate the actionable insights. My final thanks to each of the co-panelists for sharing their insights.
Right. So we have with us, thank you, Mr. Radhakrishna. And we have with us Mr. Ankit Jain, who is Director for Sales in Public Sector in SAS India. Ankit, I will request you to please deliver the vote of thanks to our eminent panelists who have spared their time in discussing this very important topic.
Sure. Thanks, Karthik. I think it was really nice listening to various dignitaries and esteemed speakers. It was really a very, very informative and nice session. We heard Dr. Prithviraj, we heard Dhyaneshwarji, we heard Shri Arvind Mishra ji, and we heard Shalabh ji as well as Rajan ji. So a lot of views I have gathered from all of them. The crux of the entire webinar which have came out from this particular discussion is the digitization of data is the key before we move on and utilizing any technology, advanced technology like analytics, be it predictive analytics, modeling, or data mining, or artificial intelligence. Now, collective collaboration between government as well as the private players are very, very important to take this forward. So enhancing the revenue and managing the revenue is a key aspect for the welfare of the citizens, because ultimately it will add up to the welfare of the citizens. If the state will collect more revenue, it will again be going back to the citizens of the state. So I think it was really wonderful while listening their problems and how they are including the technology which is emerging as and it was really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankit. So the crux is generally basically that, as they say, data is money, and as Dr. Prithvi said, that convert this data into wisdom. And I think that will solve the problem of having more money to the state, and that money can be used in welfare of the people and the development of the state. So wonderful discussion, and I hope the various states and various corporates listening to this conversation will use these tips and tactics and will make their data more optimized, hence revenue more optimized with that. So before we leave, I would like to request for presenting the speaker certificates to our eminent panelists. It's just a small token of appreciation and respect for the speakers for being here and sharing their thoughts and sparing their time. So to start with, Dr. Prithvi Raj, Secretary of Finance Department, looking after budget in Government of Rajasthan. Thank you so much, Dr. Prithvi, for being there and sharing wonderful insights. Just loved it. And at this same time, I would like to present the speaker certificate to the next speaker, Mr. Gyaneshwar B. Patil, Secretary for Revenue Department in Madhya Pradesh government. Thank you so much, Patil Saab, for sharing your views.
Thank
And Mr. Rajan Satardekar, Director for Transport in Government of Goa. Thank you so much, Mr. Rajan. Hope times become good and we get to meet you in Goa. So we look forward for that. And Mr. Arvind Mishra, GST Additional Commissioner, Government of Rajasthan. Thank you so much, Mr. Mishra, for being here with us. And Mr. Shalabh Sahu wonderfully explained the ecosystem of Chhattisgarh, Transport Assistant Transport Commissioner of Chhattisgarh. Shalabh Sahu, thank you so much. And last but not the least, B. Radhakrishna, CFCS Director for Fraud and Security Intelligence in SAS, wonderfully explaining the role of private sector in bridging the technology gap in this sector. Thank you so much, Mr. B. Radhakrishna. And thank you so much, Ankit, for being there.
Thanks,
and
Karthik. And thanks all, once again, all the dignitaries and speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon in the next edition of the series.
Thank you.